Hi everyone, welcome back to Greg's Whiskey Guide. Today with a shorter review because lately I've done very long reviews in French and in English and my back begins to hurt again, and so kind of sciatic getting back. So we gotta do things shorter, at least at this moment. So will help myself by several books, Malt Whiskey Yearbook, but also Graham Moore Malt Whiskey, A Taste of Scotland, which is an old book. Also some information provided by the distillery and a few different things. Also, this is a particular case. This is a sample pack I've received in 2020. Press samples, please. I know they argue about the gifts and the things, but I've already talked about it a lot. I'm not going to go back to it. I have an entire video about independence in whiskey reviewing, integrity being for me a bit exaggerated as a term, and it can be contested in many ways and for everyone out there, every reviewer. So I will be tempted to say give me a break. So go back to check out my video about that, and I'm not gonna enter into it, as already a few things that do not please me I don't want to talk about now. But today I'm reviewing, it's not a bottle, it's two samples. I was asked if I was interested to get them, and as I had no opportunity to try them elsewhere, I said yes, at the usual conditions, you know. And by the way, these were really true, because I was contacted in 2019. I received those samples in January 2020, and as you can see, they're still there. Okay, they're still on sale, but there are other references, and some with a higher ABV. There's a 12 years old, at 49.7 with 3 cask types involved. Currently batch 1 for France. There's a 22 years old at 47% ABV, full bourbon maturation. So yes, this is Fettercairn, a distillery from the Eastern Highlands. I know it's far, but it's located here between Brechin and Aberdeen. It's in Lawrencekirk. I hope you saw that. It's a distillery established since 1824. It's the second distillery to get an official license by King George IV. What else can I say? Quickly, again, I'm gonna rely on some information. Oh yeah, let me show you first what it looks like. It used to be called, by the way, Old Fettercairn, but they rebranded it under the Fettercairn name only. So you can see the old 12 years old label. Originally this was a grain mill to supply grist to the area's illicit stills, but when the 1823 Act was passed, the mill was converted into a legally licensed distillery. Sir Alexander Ramsay built it and listed to it Thurston and James Stewart for annual rent of £21. It is passed through succession of anonymous private owners until 1887, when Fettercairn Distillery and Company was formed by Sir John Gladstone as chairman. And yes, Gladstone's son became Prime Minister, and they say here it's no coincidence in this book that yes, this man was Gladstone's son, was responsible for the legislation relating to the angel share, an allowance duty to account the spirit lost through evaporation during the maturation period. yeah, it became a few friends in industry as I've had in government. Then distillery closed for during the Two World War. It was acquired by Train and McIntyre, who also managed Bruichladdich distillery on Islay. Eventually, through subsidiary companies, this passed on to White and Mackay, the big blending company, but also the owner of Dalmore distillery, for instance. And we're gonna go later on to see the changing of ownership. So Fettercairn was rebuilt around the end of the 19th century and extended in the 60s. The cooperage is gone, condensers, pipes, lead also are gone. Additional pair of stills were installed, modern vertical condensers, 3 more washbacks, total to 8 at this time. Fettercairn's single malt was bottled at 10 years old in the 2000s. Combinating sherry butts and refill bourbon cask. First visitor center in 1989. Right, this is for the rarer information. Otherwise, lots of things. What can I say? It was acquired by Tomintoul Glenlivet Distillery in 1971, and it became part, yes, of White and Mackay Distillers Limited in 73. And then, yeah, today it's Emperador group from, I think it's Philippines, if I am not mistaken. So it's not. Let me know if I'm wrong. So it's not Scottish own. What else? Yeah, Kindle Spirits. No. I wonder if there was not. Yeah, first Kindle Spirits, so India in 2003, and then United Spirits 2007, 2015 Emperador. So they were an old age statement, but in 2007, a 23 years old single cask was released. 24, 30, 40 years old release. I had the chance to try the 40 years old in 2011. It was fantastic. Besides it was a Richard. Was it Richard? Not sure it was Richard Patterson who poured it to me. He poured it to me so many things, so now. The 16 years old and 22 years old were added to 2020. Particularity that I had to read to you in English because I had it in French, so I'm kind of struggling to explain it to you in whoops, not a good idea. Craig, what are you doing? Yeah, it's a bit of sensitive dispositive here, so I should have done this, by the way, younger and older. Lots of things around, that's why it's a bit busy, and I had to close a bit the light because it was too much. Okay, 9 minutes already. Yeah, it's often an overlooked distillery because, yes, it is not super famous, and sometimes the style is very special. I tried a few ones only, in debottlings mainly. They have also a special equipment. So the traditional 5-ton cask iron mash tun, 11 washbacks with a 60 hours fermentation time, but there's an unusual feature about the 2 pair of stills. When collecting the middle cut, cooling water is allowed to trickle, this is the term I had to check out, along the outside of the spirit still. The spill-extinct neck in order to increase reflux and thereby produce a lighter spirit. The production gold, according to Malt Whiskey book, was 18 mashes per week and 1.5 million liters of pure alcohol. But the capacity potentially is of 3,200,000 liters. Okay, so enough of this. And now on to the tasting. This is not something I've tasted before, so I'm gonna do something different. I'm gonna pause it, and I already tried it, nosed it to take some notes. And I'm gonna do the same for the palate in French and then give you my notes. And we're gonna start by the 12 years old. Yep. I have to say the two doses were quite surprising for me. I didn't know what to expect. So there is color added, yeah. So even if I show you this, it's a 12 years old, okay, but it's I think it's bourbon for this one. Yeah, ex-bourbon. I haven't talked about the price point, which also put me off a long time to buy any Fettercairn. The 12 years old, it's in France at least. It sold 59 euros in several big shops, famous shops. No need to mention, while the 28 years old, which is partly discontinued in some shop, sold out, 595 euros, so almost 600 euros. So it's quite expensive, in my opinion. But we'll get back to the 28. Yeah, there's a nice sample I have to cover here from another distillery, Dinson, and others, by the way. So I hope to come soon to letter B. Why do I switch this in the alphabetical order with others? It's because I will be waiting way too long to cover these. Not because I got to give feedback to the distillery, it's because I'm too curious of it, and I have to do this at some point. Not in 6 years, or again 1 year time. So in order to be able to speak about Fettercairn official style, I cannot, and the 40 years old is not enough to speak about the distillery. So on the nose. So on the nose we have what I remember of what seemed typical of distillery. So some kind of, on the negative side, almost rancid, almost overripe fruit and vegetal green elements. And of the positive side, some overripe, almost compote, baked apples and pears, and maybe some hint of exotic fruit. There's something almost perfumey, beautifully floral. This one is 40% ABV. Both are caramel colored and chill filtered, but I noticed, the golden apple, especially the golden variety of apples. Apricot, also some black chocolate, some dried fruits such as raisins, maybe from Corinth, but also some sultanas. So this kind of almost green, a bit sour, a bit earthy. I also have this on the Glencadam I've recently opened, so it's interesting that those two are not typical Highlanders, Speyside. And now I don't have the map to remind me where is Glencadam. But I think it's, let me check, maybe there. I also used this beautiful book, Rest in Peace, from Ellen Arthur, which was Do I have any picture of her? No, doesn't seem in this release, unfortunately. Yeah, she was an important whiskey writer, in my opinion, and this book was very important to me as well. With Crincadam is in, okay, yeah, very close, Brechin as well. Almost Brechin, Brechin for Glencadam, and in between Aberdeen and Brechin for the other. So yeah, there's some relationship between the two, stylistically and geographically, which is not often the case, but can be. Yeah, so all in all, in beautiful nose, subtle, refined, a bit shy because of the 40%, but oh, almost some lemongrass, or is it in me? 1 second, let me pause to sorry, recalibration tip. Yeah, so it turns a bit to acidic lemon and lemongrass, so some kind of exoticness. Now on the palate. I think it would be better if it's all white. No, not necessarily. Forget it. On the palette now. Just pause a second. Okay. Yeah, I took some notes, that's why, in French. The first time I'm trying it, and now I'm gonna try it. I just tried it for you, give my impressions in English. So great burst of vanilla on the attack. Warm vanilla, sweet spices. Gets more fruity and floral in the middle of the palate. Before it finishes a bit shyly with these the typical notes from the distillery I talked about on the nose are not much present here. They're very shy, so it's more stable, it's more balanced, it's something more linear. But there's a beautiful glazed candied fruit slash glazed sugar as a conductor of the whole palette, which I like. I'm pleasantly surprised. Haven't seen some time ago some very reserved critics about this one, especially the 12. It's not gonna blow your socks, it's not gonna make you jump to the roof, of course. Not because of the ABV, because of the style. Not only because of the ABV, let's say, but it's a pleasant one, it's a pleasant surprise. And I understand why Chris, for instance, Chris Goodrum likes this distillery. Cheers, Chris, if you see Chris, if you see this. Oh, I have something elegant which is difficult to verbalize. I wouldn't say it's wax, maybe some honey, maybe some candied tropical notes as well. I have to cheat. It's not cheat, it's their notes, it's not the truth. It's so smallly written. So they say subtle roasted coffee and clove and ginger. I don't really find those. Yeah, a hint of toffee and dark chocolate. Did I say that? Yes. It definitely has something of the fudge, the Highlander fudge, craft fudge I had the chance to have when I was at Glenmorangie in 2002. I just added a few drops. Nice vanilla and citrus fruit. Vanilla and a pastry note using vanilla and icing sugar. Sorry, glazed, not icing sugar. Is topping everything, and it's very pleasant. I have to say the nose is superior to the palate. The palate is still interesting. Nice. It's more seductive, a bit more floral with the water. Let me now calculate the temporary rating for me, and I will be back in a second. Okay, so for me this at the first tasting gets an 88 out of 100. Why? Because of its balance. It gets 8.75 out of 10. The complexity and the refinement, the way it's very subtle, gets a very high 9 out of 10. The overall pleasure, enjoyment in which is one of my criteria I couldn't get rid of, unfortunately, but it also speaks about the experience. It's 17.75 out of 20. The spectacular development with water, 9.25. While on the weakness side is the generosity and intensity, which is 8.25, and the finish is a bit weaker with 8.5 instead of 8.75 for the attack and middle palate. Overall, the balance is, I could up more the balance. No, I've not been. But okay, 8.25, I'm letting this like that. So quite a good score, and a nice surprise, and a nice first try. If this changes spectacularly, I will come back to it on a separate review or a collective review of how those have changed. We're going more quick on several brands. I'm going to rinse my palette for the second one, and I should have maybe showed the mini packaging that reproduces the first. It's a bit too late for the 12. So this one is 28 years old. It's first fill bourbon. Those two are from I forgot to say, most probably 2019, as I've been sent in received in January 2020. As you can see, this one is darker. Now that said, like I said, we're speaking about caramel colored whiskies, so doesn't really matter. Again, if I'm doing the oh my god, super spectacular. If you cannot see it on cam, yeah, maybe. If I do, I swirl it around to get the legs and tears. It is so fast that it is shocking. It means mainly one thing: the heavy chill filtering. I mean, not heavy, but very -0. If you don't know it, chill filtering can be from a few degrees up more than 0, or for instance -4, which is often the case. You also have sweet filtering, which is something done at not the ambient degree, but it can be at the ambient degree as well, the room temperature, I mean. It can be around 8 plus 6 plus 8 degrees, and it can use more lighter filters than the heavy ones used by the whiskey industry, usually the big companies, when they bottle themselves the whiskey, and prior to that they will add caramel in the final batch, each batch, and also they will add chill filter it through a kind of big massive even bigger than that rank of filters that will alas remove the fat, the congeners that are in there. Well, for some whiskies there's still very nice things to get. For instance, it seems that 12 haven't a lot suffered of that. But this is also the legs going very quickly down is also related to the ABV, and the ABV here is 42 instead of 40, where for something aged like that I will have appreciated more, for instance 46, in order to provide more flavors that might be hidden by the long aging and the chill filtering. But it's their decision. For that price, for me, it's a shame. When you ask for that price for an old whiskey, you have to make it shine the most possible. But it's just me ranting. Okay, on the nose, it's more typically Fettercairn, as I understand it. It's more austere, it's more special, more typical. That's rancio thing. Almost buttery, but a bit too much lasting after the date, the authorized date. But also it has beautiful green elements, vegetal elements, forest, moss, stuff like that. Over infused tea, mushrooms. What did I note? Black chocolate, of course, again. Yeah, it's some kind of funkiness, earthy funkiness, like I wrote. Yeah, I also got the sultanas and but maybe some citrus fruit peel, orange peel, citrus peel, some bitter oranges, apricot, maybe some wax and some honey. This is the nose, which is quite complex. Let's go on the palate now. Slangeva. Oh, and I'm gonna pause again, I'm sorry. Okay, back after my French notes now to the English ones for you. So the attack is strong on something more malted barley, some sugar, caramel sugar, some toffee. Even now, yes, I get it, some roasted coffee, some kind of getting cold, and even I will say I forgot to and again I'm gonna have the problem of translation. I would say marc de café grec, which is Greek coffee thing, the matter that stays at the end of the coffee. You know, for Greek coffee, some can call it Turkish coffee, of course. It's all around there. There's some part of the coffee that stays on the bottom of the coffee, and you don't drink it. So when you drink Greek coffee, or you have to stop before the end of your cup, otherwise you get all this bitter and weird taste of the what was used to mold the coffee, to roast the coffee. So you get a bit of that. but it's not too much pronounced. You have dark chocolate. You have also, what did I wrote? I already forget because it brought me back to Greece. Yeah, it's more malty. Walnut. Walnut that was on the nose is coming back. I forgot to mention is coming back way more on the palate. Those 42 are interesting, but in my opinion should have been again 46. Yeah, there's more walnuts than nuts. The spices are coming in now more. A hint of ginger and very shy, say maybe grey pepper. Some crystallized fruits, candied fruits I mean. All in all, the style I didn't remember was so original and interesting, so kudos to have kept the style despite the industrial treatment, shall I say, chill filtering and an A150A. I will see now how it works with a few drops. And yes, I had again Whiskey Novice and New Dram Drinker coins. I'm not adding much because it's 42 ABV. Did I show you this? I don't remember, probably. Nice development with water as well. It wakes up a bit the original notes from the distillery, which is somewhere between Glencadam and Balvenie in a way, with some kind of austerity, if I may say, of other Highlander distilleries. This walnut note is interesting. It's a bit sugared as well. Reminds me a liqueur of walnut, which was finished in Armagnac, which I have, which is gorgeous. Okay, I'm gonna pause to give you my rating. Okay, so I'm back for this rating, and you're gonna be surprised. It does 87 out of 5. 87.5, sorry, out of 100, which is 0.5 less than the 12 years old, which seems a bit more balanced and expressive despite lower strength. So never say never again. The palate's rating is almost the same, a bit maybe less, half points, even less than a half point, a quarter point less on the middle and finish. It's less spectacular, less seductive, less floral and vanilla and fruity charm. It's more austere on the oaky side and green side at the same time. The balance is slightly less, 8.5 instead of 8.75. Complexity is slightly less as well. Intensity is a bit more, a quarter point again. A slightly less impact of the water as well, but because of its original profile, it gets an 18 instead of 70.75 out of 20 on the satisfaction note. This is interesting. I'm curious to see how it will evolve from my samples. But yeah, this was a great experience. I might have an indie Fettercairn in my sample room, but it's gonna be hard to check. But I'll go back with it if needed. In the meantime, thanks for watching. I hope it was interesting to see those me discovering, giving you my first impression on those two. Stay tuned for more and see you soon. Cheers.